Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not True Comic Book. This big a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Preacher. A great episode. A lot of things went down in this episode, so we're going to break everything down bit by bit. So first of all, let's kind of focus heavily on like the whole Cassidy side of things. Obviously, him being locked up, having to fight in the tombs and stuff like that. And it's so sad because it almost seems like no matter what Jesse did, I think it's just because Cassidy is a combination of many different things. Because how he feels about Tulip and he thinks Jesse's not a good bro. Like Jesse was once his best friend, but just everything going down. I think he doesn't realize what Jesse's trying to do for him. Because like Jesse's legitimately trying to help him out because it's like, I put you in the tombs because that's the only way I can make sure that they didn't just string you up on a tree and let you burn in the sunlight. So it's like, I'm trying to do that. But for him, he's just not willing to listen. And so, because it's interesting too, because we learn from the tombs that basically you can win the tombs, but you have to beat Jody. And by beating Jody, then you can get your soul back. Like I said, everyone who's lost their souls, like I said, I assume the way they kind of making it seem like it's all your soul. Because I guess there's no real discerning factor of what it looks like to only lose a part of your soul or all of your soul. Because it's hard to say, like, the way that they look beaten down like that is just mainly because of being in the tombs and stuff like that. It doesn't necessarily mean it's like, oh, that's what they look like. Like, what does it look like to lose your soul? Do you look like, I mean, when we saw what, like, the saint looked like without his soul, he kind of looks just like any other dude, so. And we see what Jesse's kind of like without a piece of his soul, which we still haven't really 100% determined whether or not that had a huge effect had an effect on Genesis, sure, but like on him personally, like, I kind of had a feeling last season like it did, but nevertheless, it's beside the point. Kind of to the point, but beside the point. Jesse slicing him up like that to get him out of there, I thought was pretty genius. And it's so interesting. Cassidy's there sliced up in pieces, still complaining about what Jesse did. He's like, you should have just put me in a skin suit. He's like, what? You know, just put someone else's skin on top of me and I just walk out. And Jesse's like, that wouldn't work. And he's like, yes, it would. And I'm like, wow, we're legitimately having this conversation. And for him, he's just bad-mouthing Jesse. It's like, oh, this and that. Tulip's going to see you for what you really are. And I'm like, that's such a damn shame. Even he's like, I'm trying to help you. You're welcome, you asshole. Because it's like, Jesse's literally helping you. He could have left you there to die. He's doing everything because he legitimately does care about you. You're up here thinking like, oh, he just wants you out of the way because of Tulip or whatever. If he wanted you out of the way, the easiest thing to do would be to just kill you and lie about it. But the fact is, because the sad thing is, that's the thing, like, Jesse struggles with trying to, like, he's always struggled trying to be the good guy. He's done some bad stuff, but he always tried to turn that around, and now his family's there, and it's just kind of bringing up that kind of more darker side of him, at the very least we see. Because even in the past, like, Jesse always tried his best, because there's that one dude who showed up at the tomb. Jesse's like, dude, get the hell out of here. You owe, like, Madame, like, you know, Langell money. Like, you owe her, and so until you pay your debt, don't come around here anymore. And Jody sees that, and Jesse's like, what, you want, like, you know, what else do you want me to do? It's like, I want you to bleed him dry, it's like what Jody says, like, take him for everything until he has nothing, and then, you know, because take everything, keep him at the tomb so he bets everything over, like, we need that flow, you know, we need him to keep, you know, do as much as possible so we can take away from him, you know, it's like, if you go easy on these people, they slide on their debt, or even if they're paying off their debts, we still want them to spend even more money or spend whatever here, you know, so Jesse still, even back then, because obviously that was like, even back then, it's not like he was a complete dick or anything too, because like he tried his best, and that's just sad that it just didn't work out for it. Like, obviously I would go back more into that, but for now I'll kind of focus on the Cassidy thing. And it's such a dick thing because Cassidy, like, all Cassidy had to do was, like, okay, stay in a box and get shipped to New Orleans. But he couldn't do that. I felt so bad for the store dude. He's like, come on, man. I said no liquids. And it's like there's blood everywhere. And once again, it's the world of Preacher, because that came up before. Remember the dudes from last season? Like, yo, we made sure that no one could see the serial number on the gun. It's like, no, I wanted to see the serial number. Oh, what? No, obviously you're the one that's shooting the gun, so we're helping cover up the crime for me. It's like, I didn't ask you to do that. They're like, oh, we just assumed. It's like, people Preacher work weird. It's just, and that dude's probably just like, man, I gotta clean this shit up. That's probably all his mind is thinking about, you know, the dude at the, getting, I would assume it's a post office, but nevertheless. But what does Cassidy do? Like, he comes back, even though Jesse was literally in the middle. For one, he tells about God being missing, which I'm so fascinated by, because you see Jody kind of have that look like, I don't know, because, you know, I don't know if 100% of people would take him at his word about God being missing. Like, but Jody and them, like, I don't know how, like, he's going to interpret that. Will he tell that to Madame Langell or not? Like, I'm curious to see, like, what that will that turn into anything or not. But then it's like he's just kind of getting all riled up because he's like, yeah, God, he's like, I've heard different theories about why God left. And he's like, yeah, one is just because this is all a test. And then the other one's like, if I find out that this was just him going like throwing his hands up and be like, I'm trying to clean his hands of this whole situation, us, he's going to be like, I'm going to be pissed. And just kind of talking about, if you look at all you assholes in here just being assholes, enjoying the violence and stuff like that, you're part of the reason why he's gone. And he was shutting down the tombs until Cassidy came back. It's like, why did you come back? And then during his and Jesse's fight, you see why. He's up there smiling because he sees Tulip in the crowd. That was probably what it was. More so than anything, because he wanted to take the chance that he could fight Jesse. Because what did he say? He wanted Tulip to see Jesse for who he really is. It's kind of his whole point. So he got that's what this was all about. So that Tulip will see Jesse like that. And he's like, oh yeah, she'll have no choice but to leave him behind now. Which is so sad that he would go to such extremes just to do that. A person you once called your mate, your friend, and you would do this to him. I mean, once again, he even said it himself, like, told Jesse last season, like, you're right. Something I've always wanted to tell you. I hate you. And it's just like that hate has grown. It's like they made up a little bit, but it's like, no, like, I don't know if they're ever going to be able to repair the relationship after this. It seems like that whole skin suit thing does work because he pulled it off in the end. I was thinking he was kind of talking about making the entire body like his. It's like, no, he just rips off the face and kind of wore it as a mask, almost kind of like some leather face type shit. Which is crazy. And Tulip drops him, like, it's like, okay, I guess and he said an interesting line where he's kind of like, yeah, it's not all on Jesse, it's just kind of like he's a product of his environment. And he's like, I guess we all are, which I think out of anybody, that's probably going to hit Tulip the most, because Tulip and the whole O'Hare situation. So that probably hit her most of all, because she's trying to break free from her environment, being an O'Hare and everything that comes along with that, Because in the end of the day, she cares heavily for Jesse, so she's not willing to leave him behind, especially knowing what he's done. Like, obviously, I'll talk about that a little bit more. But even with the whole thing with Cassidy, like I said, Cassidy's so mad at him, he's not willing to see that Jesse actually is trying to do the right thing. But in his mind, it's like, oh, you're trying to play the good guy, the hero. But it's like, no, like I said, in his mind, it's more sort of a jealousy thing of like, oh, you just want Tulip all yourself, and now that you know the truth and everything, it's like, no, he legitimately is trying to look out for you. But like I said, I think Cassidy's so in love with Tulip and so pissed at Jesse, he's not willing to see that. But even Tulip finally sets him straight, and it's like, he's like, I love you, and Tulip's like, I don't love you. But he did do the right thing by not using the spray, because I think in his mind, like, no matter how much he loves Tulip, doing that wouldn't be the right thing to do, because it's like, no, that's just me forcing you to love me, and it's like, that's not the right way. Like, if we were to be together, I want it to be because you feel the same way. I don't want to be that dick that forces you. It's like, because it's like, here I am calling out Jesse for all his BS. Like, who am I, to cast any stones if I do that? So he didn't do it. I was like, thank goodness, because I would suck ass if you did that. What I thought was very fascinating is the fact this Featherstone is on the bus on the bus with him. I was like, okay. I mean, obviously, like, the Grail would never stop looking after Jesse. I mean, they are no longer in New Orleans, so that's not too much of a. So, well, at least they're not at their main headquarters, because the fact that matter is, it just could be a situation of like, they're not there, but they're probably, I mean, obviously they kept close enough eye. The question is, why keep an eye on Cassidy? I guess it's kind of going back to their plans, or do they plan on or is he part of a bigger plan on Jesse? Because initially they were just kind of like, okay, after what Jesse tried to do, they was like, okay, we'll give him some time away from his soul to see what they want him to kind of have no choice but to come crawling back to them for real, or they're going to force his hand. So it might be kind of going back to the plan of, oh, like, let's kill his friends. Or this potentially could be the fact is of like, oh yeah, like, just because she's pissed at everyone. I feel like out of anyone, she'd go after Tulip first. Maybe the fact is that she's going after Cassidy means that's what Hair Star was like, yeah, you go after him. Why? Because I know if I tell you to keep an eye on Tulip, which I'm assuming Hoover is keeping an eye on Tulip and Jesse, I'd assume that's because if he doesn't want to take the chance that Featherstone might try and kill Tulip for everything. It's like, I failed to kill you before, I'm going to try and kill you now. And after last time they met, Tulip kind of kicked her ass. So it's probably a bit of that. So that's where my mindset is on that whole situation. So We'll ultimately have to wait and see what that really all turns into. But that's such a sad aspect of it because we have the trio splitting. This is the first time they've ever been split up. Like, obviously, like, stuff has come up in the way. They've kind of gone their separate ways for a little while, but they've always come back together. This is the first time they're going completely separate ways, and it's kind of, like, sad after everything that they've been through to end up right here, thinking from the very beginning of their journey to like where they are right now, you know? Now, on the other side of things, when we focus on Tulip's side of the story, pretty badass because Madam Boyd or Sabina is kind of like, you ain't going nowhere. So she shoots, Tulip shooting the floor like that. And they're just like grabbing Sabina and jumping and hitting. Like, that was pretty sick. I was like, yo! Tulip being all dope and shit. But we find out, like, obviously, it turns out, because it's interesting, because we find out the past between Madam Boyd, Sabina, and Jesse, because she ends up talking about he's the worst man that she ever loved. And it's interesting. It's exactly what Jody and TC said, that basically, like, oh, why did the Boyds hate Jesse so much? It's like, oh, a murder or an ex. And it's like, technically both. Because she said those were the two times Jesse broke her heart. First of all, they were a couple. It was a secret thing. But he broke it up with her. He said some horrible things. But that's because TC got in his head. Because TC's like, oh, I know exactly why you're going off. You might want to be careful about that. Because if Madame Marie find out about why you're doing all of this, she will that girl of yours will end up in the tombs. Because I was like, is it really that bad of a thing that she's in love, but that he's in love with someone? It's like, oh yeah, but she's a Boyd. She's competition. I mean, to be fair, we don't know how far back the Longueuils and the Boyds go. It's kind of interesting because even back then, years ago, like, she was still running things, which is kind of interesting. Which I guess you can assume that the body is like her grandmother's or her mother's or something like that. But it's like, no, it seems like even all those years ago, she was the one running the Boyd family business like that, which is kind of interesting. I mean, the parents never got introduced, so I guess they're just not around. Like, either they died and it's just kind of all on them, which is, like I said, just kind of crazy, but it's sad. I thought it was kind of an interesting line where she's like, you're not thinking about that girl from Texas. And Jesse's like, Tulip? No. It's more so because of what TC had said at the time, kind of got him thinking, which is kind of sad. And it's so sad because he broke up with her to protect her, but obviously she couldn't see it. She was just so pissed, which obviously Tulip knows. And she's like, later on, she figures it out. Because at first she's like, really? You're pissed because Jesse broke your heart? But then, like, her brother, Kenny, came and beat him up. And then it makes it seem like he was trying to talk Jesse down, but then Jesse, like, strangled and killed him anyway. I was like, oh, man, that sucks. Maybe he knew what Jesse was trying to do, and he tried to pull things back, and it just didn't work out like that. Which later on we get Jesse's perspective on it, and it's like, no, he was the one begging Kenny to stop because he didn't want to do it, but he had to defend himself. It's just because Kenny was so mad because neither one of them realized like what was really going on, that Jesse was trying to protect her by saying all the terrible things. Because like the only way, because he knew if he said anything else, if he said anything less, she'd try to fix things. She'd probably be like, no, like it's like this way there was a clean cut. But still, as like I said, it's also interesting too, like the different perspectives. Her perspective of thinking that like, oh, Jesse got so caught up in it and he killed her brother, and then like he's like, yeah, and Jesse enjoyed it. The question is, where does she hear that from? Because obviously she wasn't there, so somebody must have passed that on. They must have like taken his body back, dropped it off, and Jody was like probably got all in her face, been like, yeah, you know who did this? Jesse. So probably something like that, I'd assume, but maybe that's not the case at all. I mean, to be fair, you don't know. Like, Jesse might be trying to treat things more in a positive light, but compared to who we've seen him be back then, like, this is still the Jesse that was trying to be a good guy for his dad, like, even back then. It must be all of this that kind of set him on the path of just kind of being like, screw all that, like, trying to run away from the Longueuils and stuff like that. Like, getting away from them probably sent him more on the criminal side of things, so he just kind of put that all, being a good guy off. So I think it's just kind of like, just whole circumstances with them kind of led to that. That's what I'm assuming, so. But ultimately, maybe we'll kind of find out later on, but, it's sad that that's what this all turned out to be. It's just kind of like a man that she once loved doing some horrible stuff just to protect her. I mean, like I said, the same things with Cassie, but neither one of them is willing to. They think they have Jesse so figured out. I mean, because I think it's also because Tulip always saw that darker side of Jesse. She knew that like, Jesse had a darker side. She brought it up multiple times. That's why she was telling Cassidy, don't tell him about us. Jesse has a darker side you don't want to see, which is like, Which I think because she's always seen that, that's why she's willing to do this for Jesse, because she's always like, no, but she also saw the good side of him, like the very caring person. The fact is that he's doing all this shows how caring he is, what he did for Sabina, what he did for Cassie. It just proves for, I guess in her mind more so, like he's worth fighting for. Plus she also knows that this is all part of God's plan, which is interesting that he just like drove by when she wasn't looking. And I was like, okay, so much like the girl keeping an eye on them, God's definitely keeping an eye on Tulip, because he wants to make sure she doesn't break out of this situation. For once again, for whatever reason, once again, I'm kind of siding with her where I kind of think like, yeah, this got to be about Genesis in some shape or form. Like he needs Genesis to stay broken, so he doesn't want Jesse to get his soul back. So that's why he needed, Tulip to do what she did. But it's kind of like, why else would you? Why do you need him in Angelville? Is it? I mean, now I'm thinking about it. It's because of their whole system of taking souls and stuff like that, they might be the only ones who can remove Genesis. Like Madame Langell might be the only one with enough magic to make that happen potentially. So we'll see. I do love that line of just kind of like Tulip waking up. She's like, "Oh crap, your ex-girlfriend." And Jesse's like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "Nothing. Go back to sleep." And get her out of the car. I immediately am very suspicious of the line of her being like, well, the fact of the matter is it can be broken. All you have to do is kill, his grandmother. And Tulip's like, and Jesse's going to get ripped in half because of it or something, right? And she's like, no, Jesse won't die. And that moment she said that, I was like, you're full of crap. For one, it's magic. Magic never comes without a price. It's always a thing, especially with some like dark shit like what the Langells are doing. Like you definitely on the darker side of magic, so that definitely is gonna come with a price. And it needs. I'm like, obviously, it's got to mean that whoever kills her is because she'll probably be like, oh yeah, I told you Jesse wouldn't die, but you will die because you'll be the one that kills her. Like that's probably like the equivalent exchange. And even if she kills her, it probably won't actually break the curse, because like it probably still has to be something that even if she's dead, it's still bound to her soul, like the deal that they made. So as long as her soul exists or whatever, as long as she exists in some shape or form, the deal will always exist. So that's what I'm assuming. But I'm thinking for her, like Sabina, it's like, well, what's the best way I can do this? I can get rid of both Marie and break Jesse's heart like he broke mine by killing his girlfriend, which she doesn't know the circumstances around. The fact is that his girlfriend is already back from the dead already. So that's her whole situation. I'm not like she would care anyway, but still, kind of two birds with one stone type of situation. At least that's what I'm thinking. Like, cause she tells about like hating Jesse's grandmother more than she hates him, but it's got to be more than that. I wonder, is it just the whole situation where her brother urged her more? I mean, killing her brother Kenny might have been the last straw before Jesse just bailed on like in whatever way he did before this all kind of turned to the way it did. So it's definitely going to be interesting going forward with all of this, especially because now Tulip is like, no, like I don't need protecting. You and me, we're in this together. Like no more holding back. Tell me everything. Like, So, which is, to be fair, Tulip doesn't need protecting, but I guess it's just for him, it's like all that this is about, like he doesn't want to take the chance that she'll end up like his mom or something. It's like someone he never really got to know was kind of torn away from him forever because of this whole situation, He doesn't want her to become collateral damage in this whole like situation with his family, But oh boy, do we not just stop there, because there is more, because we finally get our look at the depths of hell. And it's kind of interesting when you look at the elevator. Well, the elevator, it goes from 0 to -9. That's the bottom floor, which is like, well, yeah, it's hell. So it makes sense that you would go deeper. There'd be no like top floors. I mean, I'm curious, like I'm guessing when Eugene and Hitler escaped last season, that was kind of our peak at the top floors, but I thought it was kind of like, oh yeah, of course it would, be, and I thought it was kind of interesting because if you compare like -8 to -9, there was like quite a bit of like you had to go down a few levels, but we finally like get to see like Satan's lair and everything. It's as fiery and crazy as you thought it'd be, and we got our first look at Satan. Wasn't what I was expecting. And the only reason why is because you look at God, you look at angels, you look at like I said, once again, I presume are demons, like the characters we met last season, like the warden lady and the dude that she was with, like they look human. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, I was not expecting us to get like, oh yeah, big red dude with furry legs and horns like that. Like, have you ever seen the show Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell on Adult Swim, which I haven't seen a lot of us on bits and pieces here and there, but legitimately, like Satan has a design like that was kind of crazy. I was like, huh, that's interesting. Like I said, I was just halfway expecting him to just be a dude. He typically kind of is in a lot of stuff, but it's interesting, and just his conversation with the Saint, even the whole like, oh yeah, got the angel of death there, Sydney. Isn't that what he called her? He called her the angel of death. So it's like, since even if you are the angel of death, you're still an angel. So how does that work out? Maybe even, I don't know, because he was referencing something and she got it wrong. So maybe that was, but I could have sworn he called her the angel of death. Maybe I misheard that, but nevertheless, it's kind of interesting, the conversation, because he knows about God being missing. So now he's got his own plans. Later on, he refers to it as expansion. So I guess, like, does he plan on taking over heaven as well as earth, or, just plan on it? I mean, because we don't know how the whole situation works in this, because obviously he doesn't go, they just refer to him as Satan. They don't really go by the whole Lucifer thing. So it's like, is he, assume across all boards it's still the same thing. So it's like, he's God's son, well, one of God's sons. So it's like, how's that going to play a part of it? It's so interesting because this season we've got both ends of the spectrum. We met God, we finally saw what God looks like, and now we know what Satan looks like, which is kind of interesting. In this crazy, weird world. To me, what was crazy is the whole situation about, like, when she was done whipping the Saint, like, he turned around, like, his back was torn up. Not just lashes, like, it was skin, his skin was stripped down to the bone in some parts of his back. I was like, that's brutal. She's been probably whipping him this entire episode over the course of some time. Probably in hell time works a little differently, but still. And the Saint was taking it like a champ, like it was nothing. That is one tough SOB. Now, what I find so fascinating is obviously, like, the Saint wants, he wants to go after one particular preacher. So, as kind of dealings with Satan, it's kind of like, okay, there's two escapees, and because of reputation kind of means everything, especially because he wants to expand and stuff like that, he needs him to come back, obviously that being Eugene and Hitler, and now he's sending the Saint as a guard dog to go get him. I was like, okay, because I was curious, like, I feel like I kind of knew he was going to be back on Earth, but I was like, what would be the circumstances leading to that? It's like, okay, that's what. It's also interesting, too, because he never once tells Satan about, like, what's inside of Jesse, the whole, like, oh yeah, there's something inside of him called Genesis, because I don't even think he really knows what it is. I don't think he cares, because it was part of the original deal and that just doesn't apply anymore, so he doesn't really care. But I'm sure that's a juicy detail Satan would have loved to know, because, like, that's something both heaven and hell would love to get their hands on. It's like, heaven kind of fears it. I'd assume hell kind of fears it, because I'm assuming that Genesis would work on him too. But I guess it's kind of fortunate too, because it's like, if hell knew about Jesse having that, then, like, even probably hell would come trailing after him too. Because even heaven doesn't know that he has it. Like, no one knows he has it except for the Saint. Simply, well, and the Grail and stuff. Because Fior and DeBlanc wanted to make sure no one knew. There's probably whispers about it, because there was the whole, like, phone ringing first season. So it's like, whether they know for sure or not, they probably don't know that it's landing in the human host. Maybe they do. I don't know. Well, let's not forget, like, the Grail has a direct line with heaven, so they probably have 100% an idea, but nevertheless. But what's interesting, though, is the fact is that he doesn't have his gun, so that's good. So he's not super, like, he's weaker. Granted, he's still super strong and there's nothing to stop him, but at least he's not the full-on killing machine he was last season, so his weapons have to stay there until he brings Eugene and Hitler back. I was wondering about that, because I was literally, when they brought this storyline, I was like, yeah, we haven't cut to Hitler or Eugene this whole time, so that's kind of interesting. And I was wondering, like, when their story's going to circle back. It's like, nope, never mind, I got my answer, which is kind of crazy they got him after. That's definitely going to be interesting, because there's nothing on Earth that can stop him, because even if Genesis was working, it can't work on him anymore, because a piece of Jesse's soul that was inside of him is gone now. So he's without a soul again, and he knows not to put another soul in his body, because he knows that's just going to make Genesis work on him. So the last thing he wants to do is give more ammunition for Jesse to use against him. So like I said, things are heating up all across the board. There are a lot of moving pieces in this situation, and I love it. I'm so excited to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and good